Hello everybody, my name is Solomon Alexander and I am the Foundation Director at the St. Louis Sports Commission. As you may notice, I am not at the Sports Commission today, nor am I at your school. As you probably heard, we've got some things going on right now. Some very serious things, some very dangerous things going on in the world. I hope everyone is out there protecting themselves and their loved ones. But for today, I want to welcome you all to Musial Moments. Musial Moments is named for the greatest cardinal who ever lived, Stan the Man Musial. Now, you don't have to believe that because some old guy told you that, and let's be real, I'm old. I like to have a rapport with my audiences, and if I were at your school, what I would tell you is I'm old, and that's the truth. I'm 43 years old, and I know that number doesn't necessarily make me old, but there are some things that are happening to me right now that are making me believe that I'm old. Like, I don't know how well you can tell, but I don't have very much hair. This is about as good as it gets. As you can see behind me, my yard is starting to grow back a little bit. You know, it's springtime. That's about how my hair looks. You know, it grows well in some spots, and in other spots it doesn't. That's a matter of getting older. I know I'm old because of my dad. You see, when I was young, I used to make fun of my dad. How many of you out there make fun of your dad? Usually this would be like show of hands, but you can like or laugh or whatever, Facebook emojis or whatever it is that you're sending. But I used to make fun of my dad. If you've ever seen the movie Star Wars, think of a bald Chewbacca. That was my father. He was a hairy dude, but he had no hair on his head. And so what's happening to me now is a result of what I used to do with him. See, I used to make fun of him. I used to talk about how he was losing his hair and how he looked like Chewbacca, and he never got mad. He never stopped me from going outside. He never took away video games. He just told me 3 words, and everyone out there who's of a certain age will recall these 3 words if they've been told to you, or you'll at least know what my father meant. He said, "Son, keep living." I had no idea what he meant by that. I do now, because now my head looks like a bad Chia Pet design, and so that's what's going on with me. So I'm old. That's a measure of truth. Hopefully you all will understand that as we move forward. The second thing is this nice red pullover I'm wearing. This was a gift from my wife over the holidays. She said, "You go out to all these schools and you talk to all these kids, and you should wear something nice." This pullover is very nice. It's nice, red, it's comfortable, it's breathable, all the fun stuff that we like these days. But here's the thing, and my wife's not out here right now, so she won't hear this, and you can't tell her. You see, I'm a man of a certain size. And when a person of a certain size, particularly a man of a certain size, wears a big red shirt, he looks like the Kool-Aid Man. And I think right now, as you see, and you all are laughing, because I look like the Kool-Aid Man. But there's not much I can do about it, because if I wore a big white shirt, I'd look like a gallon of milk. If I wore a purple one, I'd look like Barney. If this red shirt were cut in half, I'd probably look like Winnie the Pooh. So whatever you imagine me as, laugh yourself to death. We're going to have fun today. But seriously, this is about Stan the Man Musial. Like I said before, Stan Musial was the greatest cardinal who ever lived, and it's not just true because some old guy that looks like the Kool-Aid Man told you so. It's true because to this day, even though he retired in 1963, Stan Musial still holds most of the cardinal records. He holds the records for most home runs, 475. He had 3,630 hits as a Cardinal, 1,815 at home, 1,815 on the road. And that's a lesson for you and I, whether we can play baseball or not. Are you the same person at home as you are away from home? Can your family, can your team, can your community depend on you to be the same no matter what? If they can, that's awesome. If not, then that's something that we all need to work on. Stan Musial was also one of the greatest people that there ever were. See, one of the things that I want everyone to get from this program is that Stan was not just a great baseball player, but he was a great person, because some 57 years after his retirement, people talk most about how he treated them, more so than his records, more so than his numbers. They talk about him. They talk about Stan the man more than Stan the ball player. But all of that, that's not why we named this program after him, though. Like, the numbers are good. He as a person generally was good, but there's a deeper meaning. We named this program after him not because of the number 475 or 3,630, but because of the number 3,000. If you're a young person watching this, and let's say you're a senior in high school, and let's say you've had perfect attendance throughout high school. I'm sorry, from kindergarten through high school. That means you have gone to school somewhere around 2,600 days with perfect attendance. Maybe a little less, some a little more, who knows? But Stan Musial played over 3,000 games for the St. Louis Cardinals, more than any other player ever. So what does that 2,600 have to do with Stan's 3,000? Well, whether you play pro baseball or not, whether you play sports at any level, stuff happens to you. People say things. People do things that get on your nerves. Usually, if I were in a school setting right now, this would be the part where I would ask everyone, how many of you have ever had a teacher get on your nerves? Some might raise your hands. How many of you have ever had a coach or a classmate get on your nerves? Some would raise your hands. And then I would have my ooh questions. And my first ooh question would be, and the reason I call them ooh questions is because when I ask them, most kids, when they raise their hand, say ooh. How many of you have ever had an administrator, I mean a dean of students, a principal, or an assistant principal, get on your nerves? Yes, and there are a lot of hands would fly up then. And the last one, now, I'm here to tell you this because of our situation, and I would say this in schools with a little disclaimer. If your parent works here, you don't have to raise your hand. You're most likely in the house with your mom and dad right now. You don't have to like this right now, especially if they're watching this with you, because we all need each other at this time. But how many of you have had your parents get on your nerves? See, somebody knows out there what I'm talking about. Somebody understands what I'm saying. We have people that get on our nerves, and it's not because they're mean people. It's because they're human. Humans do things we like. Humans do things we don't like. And even in the days of Stan Musial, even when he played, there were people that knew that he was one of the best players in baseball. So they said stuff to get on his nerves. Maybe they knew that his wife had been sick. Maybe they knew that his kids may not have been doing so hot in school, and they said stuff to try to get on your nerves, just like people say things every day to try to get on your nerves in school. But Stan understood something that we should all understand, is that it's not what happens to you that matters, it's how you react to it. And in 3,000 games for the St. Louis Cardinals, Stan Musial was never asked to leave. He was never put out of a game. He was never told to go home. He was never benched. He was never told to hit the showers early. He was never told not to come back without a note from his mom. Somebody out there knows what I'm talking about. He understood that his best ability, as is yours, is availability. Everyone within the sound of my voice, everyone watching this video, everyone who can hear me right now has a gift and a talent that the world should have to respect. They can't respect it if you've been sent home. They can't respect it if you've been told to sit down. Your best ability is availability. And that's why we named this program after Stan Musial. We also named an award show after Stan Musial. It's called the Musial Awards. It's held the Saturday before Thanksgiving every year at the Stiefel Theater in downtown St. Louis. We recognize the greatest acts of sportsmanship from the previous year. We recognize young people like yourselves, old people like me, famous people, not so famous people, but they all have one thing in common. They all have done something extraordinary for someone else. And this first story that we're going to see today is about a group of 8th graders who decided that standing up for a friend who was being bullied was more important than the game they were playing. Now, if that sounds confusing, it won't be after you watch this space.